question is, how'd you go about talking with other former members of Buckcherry about starting a new group?
Yeah, well, we actually had this idea in 2001. After we had left the band, we talked about just doing something together. And I don't know if we really thought about it as maybe doing a band, but we thought like, hey, let's try to do some recordings. And we had a couple of really, really good spontaneous jams that turned into songs. And so I kind of held on to a lot of these tapes that we did, like with just jamming in our apartments with Huck and Yogi and Devin. And so we talked about it a lot. So, but just to actually get everyone to make it happen with our schedules, and at some point Huck had his career, he moved on in that direction, and Yogi had been doing all kinds of stuff, mainly with Cornell, and there was a window, and I saw the window opening where Yogi was in town last April, and Huck was finished with his Capitol thing, and I just tried scheduling it, and it came down to actually committing to the amount of time, like a 2-week time window with a producer and everything, and we just decided to make the record by just going in there and just putting everything, recording everything in 2 weeks, and we started pulling the pieces of music together and forming a record off of all these spontaneous jams.
All right. And how did you guys go about picking up Huck along the way in this with 3 former members of Buckcherry?
JD was at Alto Reed's party in Detroit, Michigan. After they played with, I think they were on tour with Kid Rock, but they had played with Iggy Pop that night. We all went to the show. It was a way big who's who kind of thing. And I was really talking with Kenny Olsen from Kid Rock at the time. And I were writing a lot of music together. And I run into these guys in Buckcherry, which I was a huge fan of course. And they had that show, and then of course I went along to this party at the Silver Bullet Band guys were throwing, and that also reached out to those guys. When I came in, it was Yogi, that JV jamming in this great room that also had this beautiful house in Grosse Pointe, Michigan, on the lake there, and he had this big grand room, and there was a grand piano, of course his Grammys and all that around. Here's these guys jamming in there, and this girl that kept nudging me, like, get up there and sing, and I was pretty much embarrassed at the fact that it was around all these celebrities and these guys that just got done kicking the shit out of skate theater with Iggy Pop. So I finally had a few cocktails, got up and rocked it, and it was like putting a glove on. These guys were getting along great, and they were just amazing players, and really, really fun to be around, and I ended up just kind of becoming friends with them. And after that, I ended up moving on to LA after, trying to figure out what I was going to do with my career. And, I got in touch with JB. He was kind enough to let me live on his couch for several months, drinking milk and so on. And we just always talked about putting this project together, and that's pretty much how it started. And over the years, we kept trying different things and different ways to try to make it happen. In the meantime, I obviously, I've been writing with several artists and had several situations come my way that I just didn't feel I was right for, or they were right for me. And whenever I got my deal on Capitol, things kind of changed gears for me, and I wouldn't have, pursued that. But JV and I had always, been wanting to put this band together, and it was really a dream of ours to do it. So, as you said, the time became right, and of course, I was totally willing to be a part of it. I'm glad that I made that decision, because it's really something exciting that I've always wanted to do, and I'm pretty proud of it. I hope I answered your question. I know I'm pretty long-winded.
No, you hit it. So, with all the different backgrounds in all the group, do you guys consider yourself a supergroup or part of that trend?
No, not at all. To be guys that actually, have live in big mansions, right? Don't have to hold themselves together.
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting question, because I remembered I saw like a bunch of Dodge Vipers in a parking lot one day, and this was like actually like in '01, and I was like, who the hell is jamming here? Because usually just guys who are just there to, to unsign or just getting their act together. So, say like, it's all the Velvet Roller guys, like, or Gilby, like those guys, they show up and so that's when there's a super group, but it's not that way here at all.
Yeah. You also don't want to take on the stigma that supergroups have gotten lately with releasing one great album and then kind of just falling apart from there.
Yeah, I think that this particular thing was like, I give JB a large amount of the credit of envisioning all this and sticking with it. We all talked about doing this, and then it just kind of happened. And supergroup, I guess guys with extreme success. I would think that we're more of guys with extreme talent. I really would say that. I've never done anything that's been astronomical to be super in the eyes of the public, I guess, but more, for myself and goals that that I wanted to achieve in life for myself. And yeah, I would consider myself a super artist, But in the eyes of the masses, are we a super group? Hell no. I mean, we're a bunch of guys that have God's given talent that we're very blessed to have, and fortunately have survived on it all these years. And we got together to put this record out, and everyone has their own kind of direction that they've been going in over the years, and fortunately we all ended up in the same spot and recorded this record, and hopefully everyone will think it's a super group. We're hoping to be a super group, but I believe that superpower is
I have to admit, Huck's here, but we tried calling Axel first. He wouldn't answer the call.
Yeah, I was the last resort, really.
What caused you guys to take the independent label route instead of going for like the whole big label push idea?
Well, we're not against going and making a partnership with a record company if it can be like that, a partnership where we can be creative and be able to move our career forward, and having some control of it. But right now it's a good time because bands could do a lot more than when we were putting out records like in the 90s and in '01. We can reach a lot of people through the internet and through all these other ways. So right now we're kind of doing it because I think to be in our position, you've got to prove yourself first before you try to get a record label, because they're not really handing out record contracts like they were.
Yeah.
So on one hand, the answer to the question is we haven't been asked, and the other hand is that it's a lot better deals. When I was selling records, like the two records I was involved in with Buckcherry, total sales at around $1 million, and I got paid not one penny from the sales of any of those records.
Yeah.
So there's just so.
Yeah, to kind of go back to your supergroup question, I mean, supergroups actually have money. And, I was out of Capital, and I don't know how many up-team shows I did, and toured the country twice, and hand-to-mouth, Wendy's Dollar Menu to Motel 6s, and did it for the love of music and busted my ass, and came out, honestly came out at about $250,000 in debt, and ended up back on the streets of L.A., going, what the fuck just happened? And, to go through that again, this time we figured, why do we want to sign up for something that we believe in this record, we made this record ourselves, we pulled this together, we've been through the ringer, we've seen the strings at the puppet show, we know what happens behind the curtain, and we figured, we're just going to let the fans do the talking, and we're going to give it back to them and give them something that they want, that we want, and that's it. It's all for that. It's either going to go or it's going to be a no. And the fans will have the final say, not the record companies.
The cool thing about doing it on our own, the uncool thing about doing it on our own is that we had to pay for it, and that's kind of hard to do.
Yeah.
But the cool thing, compared to some of the versions of the records that you'll hear, that you have to take the advice and direction of the record company. But this time, people that get a chance to hear the record, they get to really hear what the band wants you to hear. So doing it like this it's really exactly what we want you to hear.